Today we're talking about my favorite must-have supplies for youth group games.
Welcome to the Ministry Coach Podcast, where we give you weekly tips and tactics to help you fast track the growth and health of your youth ministry. If this is the first time we're meeting, my name is Jeff Lascola, and this is
Kristen Lascola, and today we are talking about 10 must-have game supplies for youth ministry, but I might give you even more than 10.
Yeah, it's way more than 10.
I might give you 13. So
when we say 10, we mean more like 13.
When we started writing it was 10, and then we just kind of went from there.
And then we didn't even count a whole bunch of them too.
You're in luck. You get more than 10, all that to say. And let's just cut out the obvious game supplies. You need dodgeballs. You're in youth ministry. You should know that. You don't need a podcast to tell you that. You need cones to play pretty much anything that's a runaround game. I'm not going to talk about cones, tape, dodgeballs, buckets, dice, whatever. I'm not getting into the nitty gritty. I've just narrowed it down to my 13, apparently, favorite game supplies that once I got these, I kind of felt like I am stocked. I can play anything. And to tell you the truth, when we give you these at the end of it, if you bought these, you would have like about 30 games just right there that you could play.
Yeah, that's not even including all the staple dodgeball tape.
And the reason I chose these is because it's multiple games per supply. So I didn't choose something like, well, you can only use this for Ultimate Steal the Bacon. It's an inner tube, and we play that once a year.
Yeah.
We have one, but I wouldn't put that on my top 10 because it's like, well,
it's the only game.
Yeah, let's get the most bang for our buck on here. So number 1 is hockey sticks. I feel like hockey sticks were a huge game changer for me because there was multiple games I could play, and our room is very conducive to hockey because we have a smooth floor, a big auditorium. If you want to play street hockey, you can play it outside, no problem. But hockey sticks for me are an essential. So I have a set. Half of them are red, half of them are yellow. They're not like the giant street hockey ones.
I think they're called elementary hockey sticks or something.
They feel very elementary. They're short, which is great because it's harder to do a high shot with those. The rule always is you can't do a high shot, meaning swing it above like your knee level. Don't need any trips to the dentist.
Yeah.
So here's what I play with hockey. Ultimate glow in the dark hockey, where that's at our Glow-Ver-Nighter, and I get a glow in the dark ball for the hockey puck. Twizzle, which is like, you could look it up. We don't have time to explain every single game, but it's super fun. And my favorite use for them, other than Twizzle, because that's my favorite game, was we did a leader night out where I rented roller skates and it was all the adults, and we played roller hockey in the auditorium. You could play it with students. It just got super full contact. I don't know if I'd play it that hardcore with students. Someone would probably break a tailbone, but with the leaders, it was one of the best nights of our lives. It was super fun. So I feel like I get right there, 1, 2, 3, at least 4 weeks of use out of hockey sticks. And I played Twizzle a few times with my student leadership team.
Yeah, because that's a good midweek
weekend
or
game,
weekend.
Yeah. It fits a lot of scenarios. So that one is super duper fun.
Before you even move on to number 2, as always, we will put links to everything in the description below. So we've done your shopping list for you. So make sure you check that out.
Maybe they'll just skip the whole thing and just go straight to the
You could,
shopping.
Theoretically, but it's kind of good to see what the reason behind some of these things.
Okay.
That's my pitch to get you to stick around.
My second favorite game supply, and once I got these, I was like, all right. Sounds crazy, but hula hoops. I realized I was always going to our children's classrooms to borrow their hula hoops. And then it would be a bummer because they're like, no, we're using them. And I'm like, darn it. And so I was at Grocery Outlet one day and they had a ton of hula hoops for really cheap. Because here's the thing with hula hoops, they're not that cheap. So I never bought a set.
Yeah.
And I found a cheap set, and I'm sure Amazon has a cheap set, and we'll link that below.
Yeah, sometimes you just go to a dollar store and you get lucky and if it's in season or whatever.
Yeah,
but
like spring, summer, So I would say like a set of 12 to 15, depending on the size of your group. But I love having hula hoops for any game that involves needing to keep some of the balls contained. Like we play a game called Sneak, and you're trying to get balls from one side to the other. And it's just a nice way for them not to roll away. I love doing a hula hoop relay for the battle where everyone grabs hands, and you have to get the hula hoop from one end to the other. That's super fun, without letting go. I love using them for ultimate rock, paper, scissors, where the kids start at either end. They hop, 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 hop into the hula hoop. When they get face to face, they do rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Whoever wins continues. Whoever doesn't is out.
Ring of elimination, where you have all the ball pit balls in the middle, and then one less than the amount of students surrounding it, and they all have to run in,
grab a ball. If you don't get a ball, you're eliminated.
But again, it keeps them, like you're saying, keeps them all contained in that one little area.
Yeah, and I also really like using them for like the safety zone for like capture the flag. So whatever the flag is, you put it in the hula hoop, and if the kid gets it, they can stay in there. And, obviously you could use cones for that too, but I just feel like they come in very handy for a variety of games. So hula hoops, yes, A+ on those. Okay, my third pick is rollerboards or skateboards. This was another thing that I had been like...
Or scooter boards, depending on your...
terminology.
Depending on what part of the country you live.
So this was one of the things that I was like, oh, if I could just buy a set of those, I just thought that was the coolest thing. I used to be a sub, and whenever I do PE, like they would bring these out. I mean, if you Googled games to use these for, you would have no shortage, especially like a PE account. Like PE teachers use these for all kinds of fun stuff. They're kind of irresistible.
On my 7th birthday, my parents, like, we went to this gymnasium thing where they kind of like put on a party for kids or whatever, and they had those. I thought it was the greatest thing ever.
Oh, same. They're like when I was younger, seeing them, like if someone, it was
just like a relay race where you would just scoot from one end to the back, and I'm like, I need this in my life as soon as possible. Stop the party. Just give me one of these.
Wheels, like for a kid, is so fun. So like what we like to do, you could use these for Hungry Hungry Hippo. You could use these for bobsled race for the Winter Olympics. You could use these for human curling. We've talked about how relays. Mario Kart relays. We've talked about how they don't steer as well as skateboards. So you could, instead of buying the roller or scooter boards, if you are like on Facebook Marketplace and just collect about 12 skateboards that people are selling for super cheap. So you could throw out an email or like an announcement like, hey, seeking donations of old skateboards, stuff like that. So just some kind of roller board to play these games, because that's 3 games right there that you can use them for. And I feel like there's no end to the possibilities on these.
Did you say human curling? That's another one. Okay.
Yeah, that one's super fun. Okay, number 4, this isn't really, I don't know, I guess it is a game supply, but my games got so much better when I got a supply of blank t-shirts. So I have about, 60 red and 60 blue, and they're blank, just Hanes heavyweight, medium and large t-shirts that we just keep in a box, and they're so nice to help us differentiate the teams. I feel like that would ruin some of our games, is because nobody knew who was on their team. So games like Ultimate Football or Ultimate Frisbee, or this game we really love called Sneak. Although sometimes Sneak is fun when you don't know who's on your team, because then you're like slithering through without anyone noticing. Capture the Flag, just something where it's like, I don't know what's going on because I can't tell who's on my team or not if you have a larger youth group. So that was a game changer for me. And I like take them home and wash them every once in a while, when they get really gross. But yes, I highly, highly, highly recommend. However many teams you need to use, have that many colors of blank t-shirts. Okay, number 5, you talked me into spending the last of my 2024 budget on this, but getting goals. So we would just use cones a lot of times, and for goals for like ultimate hockey, like we were talking about, or some kind of soccer game or human foosball. And the hard thing was that with that, it was hard to make a call on a high shot. So it was like, was that in? It was like up to the ceiling.
Oh, you
was
mean
it
if you're
in
using
between the cones?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you have net goals, it's a lot easier. It's very distinct.
Right.
Was it in or was it out? And then you have everything uniform. It's the exact same height distance as the other goal. It's not just a arbitrary call.
Yeah.
The width of the goal, kids can't scoot the cone wider
Right.
or
or run into it in the process of playing, and then it's like, was it in or was it out?
Yeah. And if your group is like mine, like super competitive, those calls are really important. And so if it's just like, I don't know, like
tears are shed.
Seriously. Well, like if you're the goalie and it went over
Hearts
your
are
head,
broken.
like, are we counting that? So this just takes all the arguments off the table. Nets, and I use them for the games that I mentioned, and it was well worth it.
Yeah.
So like I said, human foosball, any kind of hockey game, any kind of soccer game, obviously. So, all right, number 6, I always keep a large supply of balloons. I use balloons for a lot of things, and they're great to have just all the time. I keep a canister of them in our game closet for the occasion when you're like, what game? We need a game in a pinch. Here's some games to play balloons with, and you need a lot. So always have enough balloons for multiple rounds. It's always a bummer. Everyone gets one and then it's like, we're out,
Right.
just they're cheap. Order big bags of them on Amazon. Trivia Crack. That one's super fun where it's kind of like concentration. They hold the water balloon over their head and they have to answer like candy bar, like
Snickers.
Kit Kat, Snickers, Mars.
Back and forth until someone doesn't get one right, and then boom,
or
popped.
a repeat. Chair foosball, that's where you set up the chairs like a foosball court and you have to bat the balloon and your like booty can't leave the chair and you just have to hit it from sitting. Ball and chain, it's where you tie the balloon to your ankle. You have to pop other people, stomp on it without yours getting stomped. The purge, we've talked about that game before. Basically, don't let your balloon get popped, pop other people's. And human battleship. So we used water balloons for that where, we had like a partition in the middle, kids on either side in chairs, launching balloons. You were trying to hit someone. So that was really fun. So I just feel like balloons, we just always need them. So keep a fresh supply for all kinds of things. This is number 7, another purchase I was really happy with, and I'm so glad. I wish we had gotten them sooner, was flag belts. Now, I don't use these as often as I do maybe like the hockey sticks and some of the other game supplies, but one of the most fun, competitive, hilarious games we play is flag tag. So you just basically need flag belts of 2 different colors, and you put the kids 2 teams in a confined area and they're trying to grab each other's flags while not letting their own flags get grabbed. That one we play
We have some. We have extra right here. Look at
yes,
that.
that's what they look like.
Fresh off of Amazon. Whee!
Yeah, and there's a bunch of different types. Some of them are Velcro and, whatever. You can also use them in the same idea that we were talking about the shirts. So like to differentiate 2 teams. So then you kind of get a bang for your buck there, but flag tag is so fun that it's worth buying the flags just for that. And that's a great game to play at the beach or at camp or on a grass field or something like that. It's super duper fun. And as always, make sure you add in leader rounds. That's really fun to watch as well, especially a game like that. And flag football, obviously, too. That's a classic, just
simple.
PE kind of game, but flag football on a park day or beach day or tournament at camp or something like that could be really fun. And then number 8, this is another one that we use only a couple times a year, but it's ropes for Kajabi Can. So you get like 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch rope. I just would get a super long one from Home Depot or Lowe's or something. You cut it. And then you cut that into
like 2 feet sections. I think.
And then tie
enough to have knots on each side.
Yes, that's the hard thing. You have to make sure you have enough for 2 knots, 1 on each side. And that's where the kids grab the rope and they're trying to get other people to hit the trash can or the yoga ball, whatever is in the middle.
Kiddie pool filled with whatever,
Orbeez or something, slime, and they can't let go or hit the item in the middle. And so we play that at camps, winter camp. We played at the beach day. We do one youth group at the beach in the summer, and we do it at our summer camp, winter camp, beach day. So yeah, that one is super fun. Needs to be played on soft ground.
And has anyone gotten injured that you can think of?
Not like critically.
It seems like they should, but it never seems to happen.
Here's the risk. Usually when you play with junior hires, they're not strong enough to critically injure anyone.
The leader round.
It would be high school, college, and adults, because the force is so much greater. So I'd be really careful with high schoolers. Actually, I saw a variation of this at a camp I just spoke at. They did it, but they blindfolded the players so that the force, I mean, you don't really know where you're. So it didn't get as violent, because I think they were playing
a good variation.
Junior hires and high schoolers together. So they needed to like curb the strength a little bit. Down. So yeah, the bigger the kids, the more dangerous this game.
Makes sense.
So yeah, and fine print on that game. Never, ever, ever, ever pair a big kid with a little tiny kid. You know, when I pick kids for this game, like you might want to do a 6th grade round and then a 7th and 8th grade round. Because at summer camp, I had these tiny little 11-year-olds that had just gotten here from 5th grade. And they're like, I want to go. And I'm looking at the 8th grade girls that they'd be up against. I'm like, you're going to go to the hospital.
Right.
Like
but they rag doll.
Yeah, they weren't connecting those dots. They're just like, I want to play, you know? So be careful with that one. I have heard about people getting very hurt. So be careful. Okay. And then you mentioned the ball pit balls. So that's like, think of the old Chuck E. Cheese ball pits. They're those little plastic, hollow, lightweight balls. There are so many games you can play with these. Again, if you Google it, there's all kinds of stuff I've done with these. My favorite one is Me Buried Treasure. And that's when we put them all in a big bin and we hide little treasures. And it's like a relay. They have to run and dig around, get an item and run it back. And they can only do one at a time. They have 30 seconds to do it. The team that finds the most treasure wins. You can hide like little tiny fun things that are worth more than others. I've played a game where you just scatter them all on the floor and they're timed. And however many they get in their team's net, they win if they have the most. Or you could do it by color. Like you can only collect blue or yellow or green. You know, I mean, there's so many. I don't know the name of it,
but there's a game where you tape down the middle of the floor and you just throw a bunch of those out, and whoever ends up with the most on their side loses.
Yeah, you're trying to get
rid of all of yours.
Yeah, so, I mean, again, so many variations. Ring of Elimination that we mentioned earlier. I usually use these types of balls for that. So it's worth it. And so many youth pastors at our church ask me to borrow them. And so they have a lot of games they're playing. I don't even ask like, what are you doing with them? They just are like, can I come pick up your Chuck E. Cheese balls? It's like, sure. Okay. Number 10. I love this game. You need a bingo set. We play once a year. You could do it more than that. You could do it like quarterly. Garage sale bingo. So it's like normal bingo, but when a kid gets bingo, they come up to the prize table, and that's where you get rid of stuff that is lost and found, the Stanleys that are left over, or if you have extra t-shirts.
It's a big prize. Stanleys are like $50.
I have a kid who, I mean, we had a Stanley in our room for months. Nobody claimed, and he got it. And he's like, I just sanitize it and I use it all the time. Or if you have leftover candy from an event, or sodas, or t-shirts, sometimes we print out giant pictures, and then when we go to a new camp, we want to replace them. They can have the old pictures or banners from
an
just
event. A way to get rid of stuff you don't need anymore.
Yeah, and stuff that you're like, oh, I don't want to throw this away, but you're like, I don't really have
a use for it. And they love it.
it.
Like they seem to love that stuff.
Yeah, like the flags from the battle, costumes from the battle that we're never going to use again. They get so hyped on it. So garage sale bingo, it's definitely worth having a bingo set for. And then number 11, I feel like it's always good to have a few bins full of minute to win it prizes. So whether we're doing
prizes or supplies.
Oh, sorry, supplies. Okay. So sometimes we play the Price is Right, and instead of having the kids do typical Price is Right games where they have to guess the price of whatever, because kids don't shop like that. So they don't really know. We have them do minute to win it games to get the point instead. So I feel like just if you go on YouTube, you can see all the minute to win it games. So I'll keep like 3 bins that are all labeled minute to win it. And it's like ping pong balls, Q-tips, playing cards, straws,
solo cups,
like just stuff that you're like, we could pull this out if we needed like a challenge to settle a match, you know? So minute to win it games, I feel like can be played on their own, but they really do fit into a lot of like trivia games, like something, this is probably too old for a lot of you to know, but like Double Dare or something like that, where you need a physical challenge to see which team wins. They work really well for that. So always keep a little stock supply of minute to win it. And then number 12, a giant whiteboard and dry erase markers. I love having this for my would you rather. So the weekends that I'm not playing Pictionary, that's what you would need it for. I like playing Pictionary a couple times a year. It's really fun and hilarious. I love taking pictures of the weird drawings they do and posting it on our Instagram story because some of them are just too good. They're hilarious. And then when you're not playing Pictionary, you put it up on your information table and you can write a would you rather. Every weekend, the kids sign their name under it. It's just a fun little tradition to have. And then number 13, bandanas or blindfolds. Seems like so many times I would be like, oh my gosh, we don't have a blindfold for this game. Like we played this Easter egg game where they were blindfolded and it was just always like, where are the blindfolds? Right. You know, just keep them in a bin. They're cheap. Order a bunch of bandanas. Do it that way.
Bandanas can double for team designation, but the problem with that a lot of times is like, well, I don't want to wear it on my head. I'm going to wear it on my wrist, or I'm going to tuck it into my pocket, and then all of a sudden you can't see it. You know, I feel like unless they're like you're forcing them to maybe wear it on their head where everybody can see it, then it doesn't always work. But if you wanted to get the actual blindfolds, like sleep mask type blindfolds, there's less chance that they're going to be able to see underneath them and through them, because if I know Junior
their head, that's how you know it's the head tilt and they're looking.
And when
down.
They're supposed to get something and they just magically grab it right away. You're like, of course that's how it would work.
Yep.
So getting an actual blindfolds.
We were not born yesterday. We have seen this many times.
They might like kind of like reach just to the side and then grab something. It's
you're
like,
so
you're not
obvious.
fooling everybody. Tell you what, we have a lot of instructions for these games, not all of them, but the ones we do, if you want a printout PDF of just the instructions for all the ones that we talked about that we do have instructions for, go ahead and email us at ministrycoachpodcast@gmail.com and ask for, what are we going to call this PDF? What's a good name? On the spot here.
Game supply must have game list. Give me the games or else.
That's pretty tough. I don't know if everyone's going to remember that. So how about something a little simpler?
They're smart. They can figure it out.
Must have games. Just write must have games.
Simple yet compelling.
Yeah. And send us an email. Just put must have games and I'll send you whatever we do have for the games that we talked about in this episode. Send them over.
And like we said, that right there, that's like 30 games. So if you...
Well, we probably don't have instructions for 30, but
no, but I'm saying the ones we mentioned in the supplies, it's like... And keep in mind, I collected these over many years.
Yeah.
So I would like, okay, I have $200 left in my budget at the end of the year. What do I want to buy?
Add to that.
Let's pull the trigger on the hula hoops this year. Let's pull the trigger on the hockey sticks this year. I didn't just go on one giant shopping spree and do all, because you might be so overwhelmed right now. Like, oh my gosh, like how much money do you spend on game supplies? Right. Over many, many years, I just tried to buy one of these items each year.
Yeah. And then always trying to keep them in as good a shape as possible by putting them back where they belong and making sure kids don't destroy them, which that's probably the hardest part right there. Mm-hmm. Make sure you guys check out an episode we did about how to get an entire year's worth of games in 30 minutes.
I would probably add pool noodles too. Now that I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, we did talk about that, I think.
No, we didn't.
Well,
but
I mean, it should have been up here in the obvious section. Yeah, all that stuff will be in the description below.
In the obvious section with the dodgeballs.
Right.
And the googly eyes and the mustaches.
What games are those?
I'm just kidding. I feel like every youth fester has a supply, like a weird,
and a giant
like,
tie
why do you
with
have this?
clown shoes?
Why do you have a giant Lego
totally.
head in your closet? I don't know. Because
Why
there's a
wouldn't you?
story there. There's a story.
The question of the day this week is, what is the strangest place you've ever fallen asleep?
Other than in my classroom at school, many times.
Many times.
Last year I went on a vacation with my friends and we stayed in this like beach house. It was my friend's like dad's beach house. And I fell asleep on the back patio, like on the floor, like just like a cat.
Concrete?
Yeah, just concrete. And my friend Nancy and we fell asleep like next to each other. And I woke up and I had no idea where I was. And I was like panicking. Like, why am I on a sidewalk? Like, whose house is this? I had no idea where I was.
Who am I?
Yes. And so she was like laughing, like, are you okay? I'm like, I totally freaked out. Like, I didn't know, why am I asleep on this concrete here? I don't know. No pillow, no nothing, just on the concrete.
You must have been really tired or desperate. For me, I had a track meet in high school and it was just a really, really, really hot day. And our team had like made their section, like where we were all going to like camp out, you know, and have all our backpacks and gear and stuff like that. It was on the side of this hill. It was no shade. And the hill was like really rocky. And I remember I ran and I was just so tired and dehydrated afterwards.
Yeah.
Like I just laid down because I just thought I was going to pass out. And I didn't pass out, but I basically just about as close as you could come to passing out, but actually just falling asleep. That's where I just, and I wasn't even like in a comfortable position. And then it was like 30 minutes, an hour later, whatever it was, I woke up and I'm like, I'm covered in sweat, just felt awful. But that was definitely the weirdest place. And then people just walked past me like, he'll survive. No big deal. So yeah,
just
put in the
leave
comment
him for
section
dead.
below. What's the weirdest place you have ever fallen asleep? All right.
I wish I was the kind of person that could just fall asleep anywhere.
I am.
Under any circumstances. That's a true gift. If that's you, man,
That's
you
me.
should thank God.
Yeah, you're Princess and the Pea. Everything has to be just right.
Hate it.
All right, this is a community comment of the day. This comes from Susan Scudder, who says, you helped my middle school summer camp with all the ideas you shared with me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You're welcome, Susan. If you guys want to check out any of the summer camp episodes that we have done, you can check those out in the
It's only like
below.
150 days left till my
but you know
summer
what?
camp.
It's never too early to plan.
Oh, I'm saying that's coming up quick.
Right.
150 days. Like we're like more than halfway there.
It's go time.
It's go time.
So make sure you guys check that out. And thank you, Susan, for writing that comment. We really appreciate it. And thank you guys for watching and listening. And we'll see you next time.
For leadership lessons for youth festers are we talking about? Summer is right around the corner. And if you're looking for an incredible summer activity,
like it was like,
in the
yeah.
play.
And then I'm like, wait, what have I heard that before?